Good morning, welcome to another cozy Christmas reading vlog. I think there's going to be a decent amount of reading happening this next week. A decent amount of it is going to be Christmas themed. Some of it's not because I can't just read Christmas books. And then I've got some fun Christmassy things planned. I definitely am making cookies today because we are out of our gingerbread cookies. So in the intro to my VLOGMAS videos, those are gluten-free gingerbread cookies. I've had a few people ask. I'll see if I can leave the recipe linked below. Yes, I'll try to do that. And then today I'm going to be making gluten-free sugar cookies. My husband has celiac, so we just keep things gluten-free all the time at home because that makes it easier for me because I don't have to stress about contaminating him and making him sick. So any cookies and baking that you see is gluten-free. Okay, now, stack of books to talk about. The first one I want to talk about I read as an ebook, and that is Tarnished Silver by Shatona Havig. I talked about this a bit in my reading vlog from last week because I had just started it, and I talked about how I was really enjoying it and I didn't want to do my work, I just wanted to finish it. And I did get my work done yesterday, but I also finished the book. So, okay. It's about a woman who owns a bakery. Her name's Audrey. She is having a crazy Christmas season, doing all the baking, fun stuff like that. And her house is a disaster, and she hires this lady who she knows her husband's out of work. She's trying to like help them out and knows her house is a disaster and doesn't realize how much of a disaster until this lady starts cleaning it. But then this lady comes across a paper in her house with this large secret, and I don't want to tell you what the secret is. It happens fairly early on in the book, and it's kind of like the whole reason for the book, but I enjoyed it. I gave the book 5 stars. The storyline was different than anything I've ever read. It was like a perfect Christmas read. Themes of, oh, I don't want to give spoilers. Yeah, just good themes, I'll say. And if you guys are looking for Christmas books, definitely check this one out. I made a goal for myself last year to read one of her Christmas books each year, and then as I finished the book there was a list of her Christmas books and I'm like, okay, I'm good for a few years because she has quite a few. Last year I read Christmas Stockings, this year Tarnished Silver. Not sure what I'm going to read next year, but so far I've really enjoyed her Christmas books and her books in general that I've read. Also, last time in my last reading vlog I had started Muses from the Moon. This is by W. Scott, published by Owl Nest Publishers. They are a new publishing company, and one of the founders had her start kind of here on BookTube. So I got this in exchange for my review, kind of. I was asking if they ship their books to Canada at all. Apparently they don't, but they were willing to send me one in exchange for review. And so I'm still reading this one. It is a Christian poetry book that is all about, oh, I forget, I just read this yesterday, detailing the trials of struggling faith. And I've read the first section. It's split into 4 different sections. Now I'm on to Waxing Crescent, and I feel like the poems are getting a little bit more optimistic. But my fear was that they were going to be very depressing, but you have that underlying hope, so it's already like not as depressing as some. And yeah, I'm enjoying it, and I did peek at some of the upcoming ones, and I think they get a little bit more optimistic as they go. So I'm enjoying this. I'm purposely reading it slow. It's inspiring me to write a lot of poetry, which made me re-pick up All Along You Were Blooming, Thoughts for Boundless Living. This is by Morgan Harper Nichols. This book, when I read it, when did I read this? A year or 2 ago? Gloria sent it to me last year, I think. And it's so gorgeous because Morgan Harper Nichols, in addition to being a poet, is also an artist. Her books are marketed, they're by Zondervan, they're marketed as Christian poetry, and I would say they're a little bit more prosperity gospel, self-help centered. I don't think they're very gospel centered Christian poetry, but I do find them inspiring. If I kind of like, I feel like I can skim over the self-help part and get to the good stuff. And I love her poetry, love the beautiful artwork. And so because this was a little bit depressing and this is a little bit like, you can do anything, I just kind of wanted to balance it. And somewhere in between here, between these two, is the kind of poetry that I want to write and is the kind of poetry books that I want to be reading. I've yet to find them. So maybe I will just make them. I don't know. Maybe I really need to make a goal to get serious about writing poetry next year. I'm not sure. So I'm reading these. I don't think I'm going to read this in its entirety. I have before. I have enjoyed it. I just needed something to balance this out and inspire some poetry writing. Then I am going to be reading... Oh, I forgot a book upstairs. Okay. Well, I'm going to be reading this yet. This is The Afterlife of Holly Chase. I'm going to be doing a dedicated vlog of me reading this story for Patreon for my Windy Poplars tier. Okay, yes. But this is kind of like a Scrooge retelling twist story. I'm going to share my thoughts afterwards. I'm not sure if it's going to end up being on this vlog or the next one because I do plan on reading it in between some other books, just because I've been reading a decent amount of Christmas books and I don't want to just read that. I need some balance. So I will be starting this, and then I just read the first book in that tiny little Christmas with L.M. Montgomery book that I have. There's 3 short stories. So I read the first one and it was just like a sweet, wholesome story about these girls at boarding... No, where are they? They're at a boarding house for Christmas, and there's this lady who's really grumpy that they don't like, that they realize doesn't get any presents for Christmas, and you can kind of like infer what's going to happen. It's like maybe 10 short little pages. It's not very long. But it was a sweet little story. I liked it. And then my non-poetry, non-Christmas book that I want to start next is The Gilded Girl. I don't know anything about this other than it's a little princess retelling. I'm assuming it's not set in present day, but I have no idea. I'm just gonna go into this blind, and I'm really wanting to reread A Little Princess. That is going to be something I do later in the month, I think. So I'm very excited to read this. I'm just hoping that my expectations aren't too high because I want it to be amazing. I want to love it. So there's a little bit of what I have been reading, what I am reading, what I'm going to be reading, and what's coming up. So let's get this Christmas vlog started. Different day, different green sweater. Crazy to care from going out. The kids and I decided that we wanted to go thrifting this morning, even though I woke up and it was minus 47 with the wind. It is warming up out there, thankfully, but we're just gonna ignore the to care. Apparently this is the second year in a row where all of a sudden this week in December I get a hankering to go shopping for Christmas sweaters, or not Christmas sweaters, just sweaters. And I really like tacky everyday, like I like old lady sweaters for myself. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do when I'm an old lady, if I'm gonna be able to still get away with it, but I found a few things. The first one is another green sweater because it is one of my favorite colors. This one I paid a whopping $6 for, and it is by Knitted by Hand. Oh, this isn't, like, is it? No. It's by Heather and Tweed, but apparently it was knitted by hand. This looks really vintage. It's a moose and some birds. I feel like this is so Canadian. It's very thick and I definitely need to wash it, but this is amazing. I don't know, can I wear this after December? Does it have to be just a December sweater? It's like Canadian winter, but because it's green it gives Christmas vibes. But yeah, got that one. Then I got 2 cardigans which are similar. One is from American Eagle. These were both $3. Most of the sweaters from this thrift store are $3, except apparently if it's in the Christmas section it's more money. This one I don't know, it's just a cardigan. I'll have to put it on later. It's kind of like burgundy with some like orange, slightly lighter than burgundy. And then this other one is quite purple. This is from Arden, I think. Also $3, and it's just like a purpley, it's very comfortable. So I'm gonna wash those, and then maybe I will wear them in the next few days to show you guys. But then let's just talk about the books, because I found some good ones. And let's just go in no particular order. The first one, actually the last one that I found at the second thrift store, is Smoke. This is by Ellen Hopkins and is book 2 in a duology. The first one's called Burned. I haven't read it yet. I have one of her books out from the library right now, actually. This is free verse, and I think YA. I read a little bit of the back, but I feel like it's kind of spoilery. I think I need to read book 1 first. I think that maybe her YA books are kind of dark and gritty. I haven't read any of them, but just reading the synopsis of them, I have read Closer to Nowhere by her. Loved it. I feel like that one was more middle grade. I have What About Will on my TBR shelf, and now I'm going to add this one there. I currently have Crank out from the library. Not sure what this one's about, but she generally writes free verse, so I'm all for that. Then I got a Christmas book, and because we have the same last name, I had to go with An Ivy Hill Christmas by Julie Clausen. This is a Regency era. I didn't even read the back. My only trouble is this is the thrift store that charges more money for their Christian books, but it's a Regency era Christmas story, probably heavy on the romance, but it's fairly short, coming in less than 200 pages or so, right around 200 pages. We'll see if I can get to that this year. Another Christmas one I found. This was in the Christian fiction section, which I don't think it is. It's Skipping Christmas by John Grisham. Some people just recommended this one in the live that I did with Christmas recommendations. This is the book that inspired Christmas with the Cranks. I didn't realize how short it was. Also less than 200 pages, like less than 180. I have a few of his books on my shelf as well. I have The Testament and, well, I feel like there's more. I can't find it right now. But yeah, I've watched Christmas with the Cranks. Curious about the book. 2 books that were there last time that I went that I was like uncertain about, but my theory was if they're there the next time I go, I'll get them. So recently-ish, Tiffany, a few weeks ago now I think, Tiffany was sharing a reading vlog. She was trying to read, oh, I don't remember which one it was, but she was reading The Joy Luck Club, and I was in the middle of watching her vlog when I went thrifting, and I wasn't sure how she was gonna rate it, so I didn't pick it up. And then I heard how she rated it, and I'm not sure I'm gonna like it. This one is, I think it follows 4 women and their daughters or something over a long period of time, and it sounds a little confusing with characters and flashbacks and things, but she rated it quite high, so I thought I'd give it a try since it was there, even though I went like a week or 2 ago and it was still there. And then the other one is Chris Hadfield's An Astronaut's Guide to Life on Earth. Out of the norm that I normally read, but I like Chris Hadfield. I've liked his children's books. He has like that photo book, Around the World in 90 Minutes or whatever, and it's just a bunch of snapshots that he took while he was on the space station. So this, I think, is about his time becoming an astronaut. And then the last one, I found a Terry Blackstock that I've never heard of before, Emerald Windows. This is probably quite old. What, 2001? I feel like this book gives older vibes than that. Once again, it's quite short, 250 pages. Apparently this was the book haul of fairly short books, so I'm assuming this is just Christian suspense. Paid $2 for this one. The other ones were all like $1 or 50 cents if they weren't deemed Christian, and I didn't have to pay more for them. So that's just a look at that. I'll probably pop in tomorrow when I've, had a chance to fix my hair, and share how my reading is going. Now I have to go bundle up again and go deliver papers with my kids. Thankfully, it's warmed up. It's minus 24 without the wind now, so it's a little warmer. I'm representing here in my Canadian winter sweater, I think is what I'm gonna call it. I showed it to my husband and I was like, here's my winter Christmas sweater, and his reaction was, why? He might not agree on my tacky sweater collection, but I quite like it. Although this one is definitely like real wool. It's not the most comfortable thing, but this is probably like the best Christmassy sweater I'm gonna get. I love that it's like so very Canadian with the moose and the geese. I'm wearing it, I don't care. Okay, so yesterday, oh yeah, I forgot in my other clip, I am reading a book and the grader is going by and clearing a bunch of snow, so that's gonna be going on in the background. Anyway, I'm reading a book. No, I actually finished a book. I forgot to mention that I started Playing It Safe, I think is what it's called. This is the newest Electra McDonald series. I think that's what her name is. She is a safe cracker slash thief that gets caught right at the beginning of the very first book and then starts working for the government and helping track down German spies pretty much in every book so far. This is book 3. I think it's coming out in May. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Maybe not as much as the first 2, but I did enjoy it. So I think I gave it 4 stars. She gets little itchy on the neck. She gets sent to this small town outside of London, and I guess one of my issues with the book is the guy that sends her in, like obviously there's a love interest thing going on there. It's kind of annoying, but he always sends her on these missions without any information, and she kind of just gets into trouble because she doesn't know what's going on, and so she's guessing things, and I mean it makes for the whole plot, but I wish, yeah, I don't know. I guess it's not laid out as much, it's not laid out the way I would like, maybe. But that being said, I've enjoyed the series. I'm not sure how much longer I'm gonna enjoy it if it keeps going this way, but we'll see. So I read that in the last 2 days, and I think that's pretty much all I read other than a little bit of poetry. Yeah, I think so. And then today I'm officially gonna start The Afterlife of Holly Chase and see what I actually think of this book. And then I will also start The Gilded Girl. That will be my non-Christmas read. Oh, and I did read one more of the short stories in Christmas with L.M. Montgomery. And I don't remember what it was about. Oh yeah, it was about a family that wasn't going to have much for Christmas, and they accidentally get invited to this neighbor's house that the mother's not speaking to, or they're really not speaking to each other. And they, well, I guess I shouldn't spoil the ending, but I mean, it's a happy ending. Just, they're like sweet little wholesome Christmas stories. I've enjoyed them. Yeah, so this plus The Gilded Girl I think is where I'm going next. Okay, I'm going to close out the vlog here by telling you guys what I finished, what I've been reading, and then for my next vlog, what I would like to do is I would like to spend a day or as much time as I can in a day reading just a bunch of Christmas books, seeing how many I can read or how much I can get done. But I'm not sure how that's going to work with life right now, so I'm trying to play with that, figure that out. But here's what I did read. I finished Muses from the Moon last night, and I don't know how to rate this. There was one poem that I liked. A lot of them were okay, but like overall pretty depressing, I feel like. And it's too bad because I was going into this very excited, very optimistic, and it just didn't meet the mark. So yeah, I'd be curious. I mean, I do follow him on Instagram. Haven't really looked at his Instagram feed though. Are all his poems depressing? Or was that just the theme of this one? Are there modern poets that write poetry that aren't depressing? Or yeah, the book that won for the Goodreads Choice Awards in the poetry category this year is one that I actually read part of and then I DNF'd. It was Call Us What We Carry, and it's I think, oh man, I did read it. I think it was all about the pandemic, so it was all very depressing and like all about loneliness. And are all poets just so moody and down that they can only write depressing poems? Like modern poets? Yeah, please help me, because I love poetry, but with how I've been reading poetry lately, it wouldn't seem like I do. Then I read the last story in the Christmas with Ellen Montgomery collection. This one I was a reread. This was Christmas at Red Butte, which is set in Saskatchewan. These stories are very typical, very moralistic, but sweet, wholesome little stories. And you also have to remember these were written in like the early 1900s. I actually wonder if it says when these were written. It doesn't say these specific ones. The one thing I noticed is 2 of the short stories involved a set of twins. Like Ella Montgomery has a thing for twins. I know, I remember like Anne Shirley in her twin bit, but did Ella Montgomery have trauma from twins like Anne did? It feels like it, or maybe she was just obsessed with twins. It's a random side note. It's kind of funny. And I started reading, I can't remember if I shared this one or not yet, A Poetry Handbook by Mary Oliver. It's a prose guide to understanding and writing poetry. I think I need to take this sticker off. I'm not a fan of Mary Oliver's poetry that I've read so far. I want to like it because other people do. That's pretty much why. And because I'm looking for a modern poet. So I'm on page 24. I thought this was about writing poetry, but so far it really hasn't been. It's not bad. I'm hoping there's more to it yet. And I am reading The Afterlife of Holly Chase. I just barely filmed a vlog clip for my Patreon page. I'm on chapter 6, 84 pages in. It's a fun, really fast read, even though it may not look like it, but I've been interspersing a bunch of other reading in between, so I don't sit down for very long and I feel like I get quite a few pages done. And then I did start The Gilded Girl, and I didn't realize it's so obvious when you look at the cover, the little spark there between them. This is a fantasy twist on the classic A Little Princess, and it is in a world where at the age of 12, I'll read what it says here because it pretty much just sums it up. When the kindling winds blow in December, every 12-year-old's magic either snuffs or kindles. So our setting is this home where girls go at like the age of 11, I think, and try to learn about magic. And then at the age of 12 there's the ceremony, and it either snuffs or kindles. But we've got 2 main characters. One is our rich girl who has just come to the school, and one is our servant. The servant's magic is actually stronger than the rich girl's. Her name is Emma and Izzy, I think. So that's Sarah, and I really can't remember what the servant girl from A Little Princess is. It's gonna bother me, but whatever. Yeah, so I'm curious to see how things go. One of the things I love about A Little Princess is how Sarah / Emma is so kind when she's rich and when she's poor. This will make or break this book. Like, they better continue that theme for Emma. Otherwise, I'm gonna really not like the book. But yeah, not very far yet. I've read the prologue and chapter 1. So yeah, I'm gonna continue reading this and this and this. Not sure if I'm gonna vlog them or just do a reading update. I might finish this one if I do a like how many Christmas books or reading a ton of Christmas stories in one day. Not sure how that's gonna go. And then I finished 2 very short books last night. So let me know what you've been reading this last week, guys, and I will be back again tomorrow with yet another video.